You think humanity's ability to sit in air-conditioned rooms and claim the top of the food chain is an evolutionary inevitability? You're wrong. In fact, deep within your genetic code, there remains a primal, physiological fear of giant shadows. That is because, over 10,000 years ago, this planet was ruled by a literal demon of the abyss. Standing 2 stories tall, it could crush your ancestors into the permafrost with a single swipe of its claws, like swatting a mosquito. Scientists once discovered fragments of human bone within its fossilized dung. This sends a chilling signal. In that era, humans were nothing more than a backup snack. Paleontologists have even asserted that if this titan had not exited the stage 10,000 years ago, humanity might never have set foot outside of a dark cave. Even more unsettling is that its direct bloodline still hides in the misty forests of the South American Andes, coldly watching us, their escaped prey, take over the earth. This monster, which could tear a Roman arena lion in half in a single heartbeat, is the largest terrestrial carnivorous mammal to ever exist. The South American giant short-faced bear Arctotherium. The rediscovery of this legend began in 2011 at a construction site in Buenos Aires, Argentina. Workers unearthed a bone so massive, they initially believed it was the remains of a sauropod dinosaur. However, once the fossils reached the lab and paleontologists reconstructed the full silhouette, the entire laboratory fell into a dead silence. It was the femur of a bear. According to precise modeling by the Journal of Paleontology, this beast weighed between 1,600 and 2,000 kilograms, equivalent to a heavy-duty SUV packed with passengers. When standing upright, its line of sight could peer directly into a second-story window. Its shoulder blades were wider than those of an African elephant, and its forelimbs were as thick as utility poles. Its massive jaws could generate over a ton of bite force, enough to snap the spine of a wild horse in an instant. You think this terrifying size was a gift from the heavens? You're wrong again. It was the result of a massive geological gamble involving the movement of tectonic plates. About 3 million years ago, North and South America were joined by the rising of the Panama Land Bridge. This gateway triggered the most spectacular biological reshuffling in Earth's history. Smilodons, dire wolves, and lions rushed south from the north, while giant ground sloths and camels migrated north from the south. The ancestor of the South American giant bear was a small survivor in this migratory wave. Initially, it was a mediocre creature, no larger than a modern black bear. However, the South American continent proved to be an evolutionary cheat code paradise. It was filled with slow-moving, fat-rich giant herbivores that had absolutely no concept of natural predators. In an environment with zero competition and infinite food, the giant bear began an uncontrolled expansion. Each generation was larger, stronger, and more destructive than the last, evolving over hundreds of thousands of years from a common bear into the most formidable executioner on the planet. What truly makes researchers' skin crawl is its feeding habits. Study has found unique wear patterns on the giant bear's teeth, marks left only by the long-term crushing and gnawing of hard bones. In the depths of certain caves, scientists found the remains of giant ground sloths covered in these tooth marks. This means the giant bear didn't just crave meat, it would completely pulverize the prey's skeleton to suck the marrow dry. During the Ice Age, this bone-crushing and marrow-sucking behavior was its daily routine. However, you think it was just a mindless killing machine? You're wrong. Carbon isotope analysis proves this. 2-ton butcher possessed high survival intelligence. It was not a pure carnivore. During the seasons when fruit ripened, it would gather berries and dig for roots. This omnivory gave it incredible resilience during the fluctuating wet and dry seasons. When prey was scarce, it even transformed into a wasteland bully. If a powerful Smilodon had just made a kill, the sight of this moving mountain slowly approaching was enough to make the saber-tooth let out a frustrated growl and obediently surrender its prize. Unfortunately, even the mightiest empire eventually falls to time. Around 800,000 years ago, the fossil record for the giant bear began to thin. This was not due to a single catastrophe, but a chain of survival pressures. As the Panama Land Bridge stabilized, more elite predators from the north flooded in, and competition became fiercer than ever. The massive body size that was once an advantage became a crushing burden. The environment could no longer support the massive caloric intake it required daily. To preserve the bloodline, these titans began a desperate shrinking program. Each generation became more compact and leaner. Ultimately, this former war machine regressed over 10,000 years into the modern spectacled bear. Today's spectacled bear weighs only about 100 kilograms, less than a tenth of its ancestor's size. But if you examine the structure of its hip bone closely, you will find that unique hole, the pure royal mark of the short-faced bear family, and the last legacy of that era of slaughter 11,000 years ago. If the South American giant bear was the tyrant of the South, its brother, the North American giant short-faced bear, Arctodus, patrolled the northern wilderness. While slightly less massive than its southern cousin, it possessed even more extreme athletic talent. It had disproportionately long, slender legs, and scientists estimate its short burst sprint could exceed 60 kilometers per hour. Imagine a monster standing 3.5 meters tall, charging at you faster than a modern sprinting champion. That is true despair. Meanwhile, on the European continent, evolution took an entirely different path: the cave bear. This ton-heavy beast had a dental structure that revealed it to be a dedicated vegetarian. However, that did not make it a pushover. It did not hunt actively, but it possessed the strength to crush a wolf's skull with a single paw. Yet, the cave bear ultimately lost to humanity. About 24,000 years ago, as our ancestors began to compete for caves suitable for winter survival, their living spaces overlapped. Humans, armed with fire and collective tactics, eventually drove these vegetarian giants to extinction. Whether it was the power-focused South, the speed-focused North, or the energy-saving Europe, all giant bear dynasties perished between 10,000 and 20,000 years ago. Climate warming, the disappearance of giant prey, and the rise of humans with fire and weapons rewrote the script of the planet. Today, when you go to the zoo and see those seemingly docile black or brown bears, remember that they are only faint shadows of that once giant dynasty. You think human mastery of the world and our position at the top of the food chain is permanent? You're wrong. The story of the giant bear tells us that strength and hegemony are never permanent insurance policies. Even the most ferocious predators on Earth will eventually turn into silent bones in the judgment of time if they cannot adapt to the turning wheels of environmental change. The stable era we live in now is nothing more than another brief experiment built upon a graveyard of giants.